Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Natural Aquarium here on Father Fish. Today, our subject is plants. And how do we trim them and how do we make more of them? Because plants, as you might have figured out, are one of the key things that keeps our aquariums beautiful and healthy. So if you're ready for that, here we go. So in general, how do I know that I need a trimming to happen? Generally what I'm looking for is like, hey, how much light penetration is happening from the top to the bottom? Are the things on the bottom going to be able to grow? Also, you might want to look at those things that are growing and like, hey, I don't have any leaves down here, okay? Maybe there's not enough light. Or, oh, I'm getting a lot of roots coming off of something because, hey, it's growing horizontal. That must mean it's a good time to start, I don't know, propagating some of that and planting it down in different places. Or if you really like that horizontal look, you can do that too. There's plenty of things like Rotala and stuff that will actually just go and just zoom right over, at least until it hits a vertical, either that or it'll start out horizontal and then there'll start to be vertical shoots coming off of it. Completely your choice as to how you want your aquascape to look. But yeah, things to look at are roots and the amount of lighting to figure out if you want to actually start to trim things. And you know, maybe also if your fish are starting to run out of places to swim. I've definitely got some very dense scapes going on there as well. By far the easiest plants to propagate, I mean, if you're even trying, are floaters. They pretty much, if they're happy with whatever environment you've provided, they will just keep multiplying. And especially our lovely friend, duckweed. Oh my gosh, duckweed right here. You will not get enough of this stuff. You get one down in your aquarium and soon it's gonna pop up all over the place like you got measles, often known as the herpes of the aquarium world. So yeah, duckweed. And you know, there's plenty of other things other than duckweed. We've got things like salvinia. Salvinia here will just keep branching off of itself. There's ones that throw out much longer root systems and ones that also will send out little stems that turn into new plants, like water lettuce and frogbit and stuff like that. They'll just keep chaining out little ones that'll make their own little floating islands as they go. So floaters are by far the easiest one, which is why you always see tons of people online selling them in giant bags of just whatever that floater is, because it is so easy to do. So if you want something easy, try that out, but you're probably also going to be taking scoopfuls of it off the top and chucking them in your compost bin or some other place. So next up are our stem plants, and our stem plants are often the backbone of most of our lovely natural aquariums here. And Bacopa is definitely one of those. This one, it's kind of interesting because if you had noticed, hey look, it started setting up its own little root system there. And this normally happens when the plant starts to go horizontal. So if you want to get some lovely stem plants that are ready to go to just shove back into the soil, making them go horizontal is oftentimes a good thing to do. And the reason mine mostly go horizontal, of course, is because I've got a lid. And these can actually grow immersed. And so what they'll do is they'll go up to the lid, they'll hit that lid, whoop, and then they start creeping along sideways. And then they set up their roots, and then I know that that's a great time that if I want to propagate this, I can just go in and anywhere in between the leaves, take a little snip, and of course I'm trying to get some with the roots here, and then those can either be sold off or you can just plunk them right back down into the aquarium. Hey, speaking of snipping and plunking off, here's a couple of tools that might help you. So, snipping. Hey, Aquascaper scissors, yay! They're not the sharpest things in the shed, but yeah, they'll do the job. And the cool thing is they got plenty of reach, so you can get, you know, all those little nooks and crannies there. Give it a little snip, and voila, you've got yourself a plant part. And then, yeah, we've got our lovely little tongs, forceps, whatever you want to call them. And you can take your lovely little trimmings that you have now and pop them right on there with your hand. Ta-da, you've got it, it's ready to go. Shove her right into the substrate, and then you'll have a new little plant growing up. Ta-da! So, two lovely little tools that you might want to get in your arsenal. If you haven't already, they're very affordable. There's plenty of different versions. Hopefully you get some that don't rust too much. And of course, this works for many other stem plants as well. You've got things like Ludwigia, another one that's pretty much like our Bacopa friend here. You can take a look back in my video. Maybe I'll put a link on it somewhere here. And yeah, these two, they will both grow right up to the top, hit that top and then start going sideways and then start putting their own little roots out and stuff too. And for these, I sometimes also like to snip off parts where there is a new side shoot growing, so that way the main shoot can keep going. And of course, you always want to leave some part with leaves, either on the part that you're going to be taking or the base part that it came from. That way it can continue to do photosynthesis and keep growing as a lovely plant. So there is your stem plants. And again, wide variety, all sorts of crazy things. If it's got one big stem and there's leaves that come off of it, chances are it will follow those rules, and it will be super easy to just cut in between the leaves, and voila, you've got more stem plants. Next up, we've got our carpeters, our runners, however you want to call it. So they don't necessarily have to be something that stays low. It could be something as large as our lovely Valsinaria here. And also dwarf sage is another great one, which I'll go ahead and I'll put some video happening right over here somewhere. And so this stuff is lovely. Basically what happens is you've got your lovely little plant part, whether it be, you know, something grass-like like the dwarf sage, or it could be something that has, you know, more rounded leaves, whatever it may be. And basically these guys, they like to put up some leaves, and then when that's growing successfully, it'll put out a little runner, and the little runner runs along until it finds its next spot where it wants to put up some more leaves, and then boop, more leaves pop up, and then another runner, and then another runner, and another runner, and then another runner. So anyways, they keep putting out those runners, and those will keep sprouting up and hitting more plants. And typically what will happen is that they will end up hitting the glass at first, and you get this neat little line going across the front of it. And to propagate these, again, the video's going on right here, you basically just go and you're gonna like trim the lovely little runner parts that were going from one plant to the next, pop all of those off, and then jiggle, 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 jiggle as it comes out of the soil, and voila, you've got yourself a whole lovely little plant ready to go. And then of course you can take something like your lovely little tongs here, put that guy in there, get that root mass down into the soil, and voila, you're ready to go. And by into the soil, sometimes if it's a newer tank or something, you don't want to go straight into the soil. The soil might be a little hot, so you're going to want to stop just before you reach the soil, so it's the top part of the sand, if you're running a lovely sand on the top. Sometimes also, speaking of that, I found that some plants, usually it's going to be a stem plant or something, and it keeps ejecting itself from the soil. It just boop, pops up, okay, and there's no roots going on and stuff. Sometimes it's because it's too hot. Other times it could be due to light issues. And one of the things I found that works for me is to get that plant just barely drifting above the substrate, like have it wedged in between a couple of other plants, or just, you know, like sat there with like one leaf under a rock or something like that. And sometimes what it'll do is, if it's happy enough, it's getting enough light and all that, it will send roots down on its own, and therefore it will find what it needs and not be burned out by being too hot of a soil or anything like that. So another tip for you. So next up are our slower growers here, and we're talking about our rhizome plants like lovely Anubias, bucephalandra, stuff like that. Now, normally what happens is they have this lovely rhizome, and it looks like what's, you know, maybe the stem for them, but you've also got the roots and stuff coming out of it. So for these guys, hopefully you're not burying that rhizome into the soil, because obviously it'll die relatively quickly because it needs to be exposed to the water. But basically what happens is you can take anywhere along that rhizome, hopefully someplace where you've got some root action going on, and go ahead and just make a clip in between. So you've got some plants and root on one side, plants and root on another side, and voila, you've got two lovely plants now. And then these guys can just be placed in different places wherever you want, and they'll happily keep growing. And then whenever you feel like you need to, you know, get another trimming or something, again, just take a clip. Not too problematic at all. Yeah. And so another one that you don't really have to do anything about, and it just kind of grows no matter what, are your mosses and that lovely thing that nobody can pronounce, but I think I asked an Austrian guy once, Suswassertang? Something like that, yeah? Well, you basically just let that stuff go. You maybe want to spread it outward horizontally to absorb more light, because otherwise sometimes what happens is some of the bits that are underneath start not getting as much light. They'll brown out and they'll die. So for your mosses, typically what happens is propagators will get like a nice little mesh that will be like squares, sometimes stainless steel, sometimes plastics, whatever. And they let that moss like kind of grow over the top of that. And then voila, you've got yourself a nice little square that you can then sell off to somebody else if that's your wish. So yeah, just providing horizontal space for your mosses or Sus Foster Tong or any other little thing like that makes wonders for propagation. And another one that we can also take a look at propagating is the things like the Cryptocorynes. Basically what happens is that you've usually got, one lovely little stem that will come up and it'll start putting a bunch of leaves off of it. Looks very beautiful. And what happens is that eventually that one parent plant will end up shooting off little other ones that will end up popping up and making more here and there and everywhere. So anytime that you get one of those lovely new little offshoots, feel free to, again, snip the connection between the parent and the child, and then go ahead and take that plant and put it wherever it is that you want it to go, if it's not already going in a place that you want it to go. Personally, I kind of just let things go naturally until they start overtaking each other, because it's a whole plant war going on in there in very slow motion. So, completely up to you. Cryptocorynes. Snip the connection between the parent and the daughter if you so wish. And there we have it, another episode of the Natural Aquarium on fatherfish done, complete. Plants, they happened, it was great. Maybe a little laurel wreath today here. So, hopefully you've gained some wonderful insights on how to trim and propagate your plants. And maybe leave us a comment in the bottom there, like what have you found to be the most profitable plants that you've ever sold? And don't forget to leave that lovely little like, subscribe. I'll probably put some buttons here or something and clicky sounds. And we'll see you next time. Bye.